לפיכך אנחנו חייבים להודות לך. לפיכך אנחנו חייבים להודות לך. ולשבחך, לפארך, ולברך ולקדש וליתן שבח והודיה לשמך. ולשבחך.
Hello everyone, this is the third in the series about 100 blessings a day. And last time we presented 2 points of view. One point of view, as poskin in the Shulchan Aruch, is that you have to get to 100 a day, and if you're short, you got to make it up. We also brought the other point of view, not based on the Gemara and Menachot, but based on the Tosefta and the Yerushalmi, that says it's a natural occurrence. And perhaps the story about Rav Chia, son of Rav Ivya, that filled in the missing brachot by eating fruits and vegetables and keeping a tally, was a midat chasidut, a pious thing to do, but not obligatory for every Jew, and therefore the Gemara said only he did that. Based on that machlokas, my question is, what do we have to do if we come up short? As mentioned, on a regular day, you don't come up short. If it's not a fast day, between davening, the brachos you say in the morning, eating, using the washroom and whatnot, you'll get to 100, much more than that. But on a fast day, you're not eating, you may come up a little short. Shabbos and Yom Tov, where there's only 7 blessings in the Amidah, not 19, you definitely come up short. So what do you have to do? Based on the first point of view, that it's an absolute obligation, you got to fill in with eating fruits, eating vegetables, snacking. Now you can understand why a kiddush became such a commonplace in our shuls, because with due respect, we needed some means to get to 100 brachos. On the other hand, if it's a natural occurrence, maybe you don't have to do that. We will definitely get to 100, but maybe not in the conventional way of making a bracha, but in other ways. For example, the Ramah says that we don't say En Kilokenu because after En Kilokenu comes Pitum HaKtoret. And to bring the Ktoret, the incense offering, there was 11 ingredients. And if you forgot one of the ingredients, you're liable to die. Well, therefore he says during the week when people are running out of shul, we don't say it at all. But Shabbos and Yom Tov, they're not running, we say it. Comes along the Machzor Vitri and says, that's not the reason. Ramah said that in the 16th century, but the Beis Medrash of Rashi years before said, Lakach tiknu lomar en kelokenu b'Shabbat. Maybe that's the reason for Pipto Maktoret, but that's not the reason for En Kelokenu. En Kelokenu, he says, was Dafka on Shabbos. Why? The fee shein palim b'Shabbat shmona esrei. Because we don't say 18 blessings or 19 blessings, we come up short. And indeed, every line of the En Kelokenu is considered a blessing. Altogether, you got 12 more by just saying En Kelokenu. According to that, maybe it's not an obligation, but a natural occurrence. And on Shabbos, it's done in other ways. For example, adding En Kelokenu into our davening. And the Tanya Rabbati, which was of this point of view, namely that if you do this, Yanichu Bracha will show you'll be blessed, but it's not an obligation per se. He says in the name of Rabbeinu Shlomo, meaning Rashi, that's the reason for Ein Kelokenu. This will probably also explain other points of view that say that on Shabbos Yom Tov you don't have to keep a tally because it will naturally happen. The Rambam paskins in Hilchos Brachos Perek Aleph Halacha Yud Aleph that if you answer Amen after someone's bracha, Harei Zeh Kemevarech. It's as if you made the bracha. Based on that, the Rosh says that during a Shabbos and Yom Tov when you come up short, and in his view it's an obligation, HaKoreh b'Torah u'b'maftir v'yaneh Amen v'ya'alu lo lashlim minyan habrachot. There's 8 aliyahs on Shabbos at least. There's the brachos on the Haftarah. Say Amen. It's as if you said the bracha, and now you've already made up a lot of the missing brachas that you're missing because of that shortened Shmoneh Esrei, that shortened Amidah. And indeed, even though the Shulchan Aruch says that it's an obligation, he does say tzarich lechaven leberkot hakorim b'Torah v'berkot hamaftir v'yaneh achareihem Amen v'ya'alu lo lahashlim minyan mea brachot shechiser minyanam b'Shabbat. He paskins like the Rosh that this is a great idea, and as the Mishnah Berurah explains, that by saying Amen, it's as if you made the bracha yourself. From this perspective, why not count Chazarat Hashatz. After all, for every Amida, there's a Chazarat Hashatz with the exception of Ma'ariv. That's another 7 blessings at Shachris, another 7 at Musaf, another 7 at Mincha. Altogether, you got 21. I believe that the reason is based on exactly what we said. If you go and say that you have to make 100 blessings a day, then the Rambam says, if you answer Amen, it's as if you made the blessing on one condition. It's only if you're obligated in this bracha. Well, if that's the case, then you could understand why not Chazarat Hashatz. According to the Ma'adanei Yontif, this is the Tosfos Yontif of Yom Tov Heller, who wrote a perush on the Rosh. You already davened your silent Amida. So you're not chayav in the Chazarat Hashatz. The community is, but you personally are not. And therefore it cannot be counted for the missing blessings. The Mabit, Rav Moshe ben Yosef Tirani, 1500 to 1580. He was part of the Beis Din of the Shulchan Aruch of Yosef Karo in Tzfat. And when he died, he took over as the rabbi of Tzfat. They had many beautiful debates, all with great mutual respect. He says, you have to make these blessings. It's only if shechayav ba, v'shomam mipnei shechayav ba. It's only if you're obligated and you heard it. Like if you want to eat an orange and someone says, "Borei peri ha'etz," and you take a bite. But if you don't want to eat an orange, you're not obligated in it. Chazarat Hashatz, you already davened. That's not the case with, say, the brachos on the Torah and the maftir. That by definition is a chovat hatzibur. It's everyone's obligation. And the one getting the aliyah is doing it on our behalf, in his opinion. And therefore he says that if that's the case, of course you can count it in, but not Chazarat Hashatz. However, others who are saying it's a natural occurrence will allow it. For example, the Olat Tamid, the Perush on the Shulchan Aruch, written by Rav Shmuel ben Rav Yosef from Krakow, 1640 to 1700. He was a dayan in Krakow, and he writes that Yom Kippur, of course, you can't eat. And he debates, should you take one of these nice hadassim and smell it? On the one hand, you'll make up to 100 blessings, but on the other hand, it's a day in which we're obligated to afflict your soul. And smelling something beautiful is not exactly afflicting your soul. And therefore he says, יותר טוב לסמוך עלינו הפוסקים תסביר לו בעניית אמן לחזרת השליח ציבור בעניית אמן לעונים אחר העולים בתורה ואחר שומעים ההפטרה בכלל להשלים מהברכות. Add in Chazarat Hashatz. Yes, you're not obligated in it, but it should be a natural occurrence on a day like Yom Kippur. You basically would get to 100 brachos in another way. The Mishnah Berurah comes indeed and says the same thing. He says that on Yom Kippur, when you come up short, you can alidei chak, you have no choice. Somechan Chazarat Hashatz. So as you can see, do you have to actually make a bracha or not? And which brachos would be counted is based on, is it an obligation or just a good thing to do?